Hi, my name is Moshe Kindler, and I'm the publisher of The Jewish Link.
Hi, this is Elizabeth Kratz. I'm editor of The Jewish Link.
And you're on The Jewish Link Pitch Meeting Podcast. We're here today with two very, very special guests. Actually, one of them's been here before. I'm here with Chana Shields, who does a tremendous amount of work for BCJAT, Bergen County Jewish Action Committee. But she also has another title, and she's also here with Mark Levinson. So Mark and Chana, welcome to the Jewish Pitch Meeting Podcast.
Thank you.
They are here. You guys are here, okay, as the chairs or the campaign chairs for the OIC, okay, Mizrachi campaign. And I know it's all about, which I'm really going to have to ask you to tell me about. I'm in it. But tell us about the World Zionist Congress. Tell us about the elections coming up that just started yesterday, in the last few days. And welcome to the Pitch Meeting Podcast. Mark, I haven't seen you in a while.
Nice to see you.
Hi, thank you, Moshe, and it's great to be here again for a different cause. So just to give a little background on the World Zionist Congress, because a lot of people don't really understand it. The World Zionist...
It's unbelievable. I can't tell you how many people who I explained this to them 4 years ago. I don't know if you're feeling it. Don't you feel like having the same conversations you had 4 or 5 years ago?
Of course we're having the same conversations, but a lot has happened in the past 5 years, and people have only so much they can keep in their heads.
This is actually a lesson of how poor people's memories are. Okay, you think we put a lot of effort into it a few years ago. It just feels like it's almost like went right outside the window.
Right, and I think just with the war and everything, and all of our efforts that we're doing, on behalf of so many different factions and so many different things in Israel that we're doing, maybe the hasbara of the World Zionist Congress took a back seat, over the past year and a half. But I will say in simple, the World Zionist Congress is really a mirror of the Knesset, almost, and it is the opportunity for Jews around the world to have a voice in Israel. The World Zionist Congress, predates the state. Started with Herzl, and the idea was to build a Jewish homeland. And then the agencies that came out of the World Zionist Congress, the World Zionist Organization, Jewish Agency for Israel, Karen Kayemet L'Yisrael, were all organizations that were started to purchase land in Israel, to promote Aliyah, to build infrastructure and things like that, and they all still exist today and still do those things. But the way we have a voice, there's delegates from all over the world, and because America has the largest Jewish community outside of Israel now, we have the most delegates in the World Zionist Organization. We have 152 delegates that are up for grabs. So we do have an election, and every Jew in the United States over the age of 18 as of June 30th, 2025, so if you're 17 but you're going to turn 18 before then, you have the right to vote in this election and really have a say in the future of Israel, because every Jew does have a stake in Israel, and that's really, really the point of this. So what's at stake is, each faction or each group runs a slate, and the slate is a list of potential delegates that can be elected to the Congress. Based on how many votes a slate gets, that is then divided by the total number of votes, and each delegate basically costs a certain amount of votes, right? There's a weighted way that they do it, but based on the number of votes you get, that's the number of delegates you are awarded. Because Mizrachi is such a big slate, we usually win a large degree of delegates, and we have delegates from all over the world, and we have a significant number of the total delegates in the Congress, which allows us to have a lot of important positions in the WZO, in Jewish Agency, in Karen Kayemet L'Yisrael that really influence the future.
And
of
Mizrachi is the largest, I think, correct? With large Orthodox. Are we the largest? Is Mizrachi? But I just want to say the following. Chana, you convinced me, or Chana basically forced me to. There
was no force.
I'm very, very happy to be. I'm actually a member of the slate. I think I'm pretty low down, but that's okay. I'm very, very happy to be on it. But I just say, how big is Mizrachi in terms of makeup of the current Congress? Where's how big?
So, as Chana said, roughly, we could go deeply into percentages, but roughly it's 1/3 Israel. Israel does have the most. 1/3 the rest of diaspora. 1/3 the U.S. In the last election, the one we're still governed under, last election there were about 125,000 votes total. Mizrachi slate got 22,000 votes.
Wow.
We were number 2. The Reform movement was number 1, and then there were other organizations after us. But we are and historically have been the largest. I mean, I think it's well known. It should be well known to people if they're interested in this at all. Our coalition, I mean, our partners. It's almost like an umbrella tent of orthodoxy. At least the
But you know,
elements of orthodoxy.
there are more organizations this time than last time, if I'm
Yes,
recall.
there are now 20. There were 15 slates last time. There were 21 this time. With the growth of social media, with the greater involvement, unfortunately because of the war, not unfortunately greater involvement, but unfortunately that there was the war, October 7th, we are expecting at least 200,000 votes, maybe even 250. So we were happy with 22,000, or sort of happy with 22,000 last time. We have a much larger goal this time. Everyone has to vote. We have tremendous partners. I mean, not surprisingly, OU, the Orthodox Union, YU, Yeshiva University, Toro, RCA, B'nai Akiva, it goes on and on and on. We have a terrific collegial group of people. We've been working together on this. Chana and I have been working on it, as well as lots of others, for almost a year now. Out of Israel, World Mizrachi is the world over. They're running campaigns sort of in Israel with the Knesset, but also the rest of the diaspora communities outside of the U.S. But we meet with them more than weekly. It's now daily, and we work very closely with them. But we have responsibility for the U.S. We understand the U.S. and but we collaborate and cooperate with them because it's the same message. It's the same Mizrachi message. We want to unify. We're on the front lines. We really believe we're on the front lines. And I don't want to go down percentage numbers, but it's very obvious to most that pay any attention to this. The larger number of the soldiers serving in Israel on behalf of the state, the Jewish people, disproportionate to Mizrachi's portion of the population in Israel, drastically exceeded that. And unfortunately, by almost logical conclusion, the number that have fallen have disproportionately come from Mizrachi. We're in the front lines for that. We're in the front lines with helping build yeshuvim. We're in the front lines with education, Jewish curriculum, Zionist curriculum, not only in Israel, but also here. So anyone that has the values that we kind of profess at Mizrachi, and I don't know where the camera is, we have our little Purim card here with a QR code, and pretty much every shul involved, every Orthodox institution is aware or should be aware of what we're doing. We need people to vote.
Yeah, and what's the goal this year? It was 25,000 was last time?
22,000
So
last time.
the goal is what, 50? You're hoping to double it? Or?
I'd love for 50 or 60,000 votes, and I think we can do it.
Yeah.
And I just to add to what Mark has said, since its inception at the World Zionist Congress, the same Mizrachi faction has represented the Orthodox community, the Orthodox Zionist community, and relentlessly, always with the goal of building Israel. And I think that that's a real distinction between Mizrachi and other slates, between the OIC Mizrachi and other slates. And if you look at the institutions that are a part of our slate, everything we do is about building Israel and building community, building unity. We are always the unifier within the WZO. We are the ones who have close relationships on all sides of the aisle so that we could bring people together, and we've successfully done that in so many things, even in issues of conversion and issues of things like that came up over the years. We have always been able to pull a consensus together where people all feel respected, but where things are done, with Torah in mind, with halacha in mind, but with respect in mind. But that said, when we talk about building and we talk about service, all of the programs that Mizrachi does are with the essence of building Eretz Yisrael, building Am Yisrael, dedication to service, B'not Sheirut, army service, volunteering, and we've made a tremendous impact. If we look at Mark talked about the disproportionate versus the percentage of the population, numbers that serve in the Army. I can say, just for a little cross-segment, I'm the chair of the board of Amit. We have, 85 schools in Israel, 40,000 students. But that represents only a small portion of the population. It's only about 3% of the students in Israel. We've lost over 60 students and teachers in this war, which is, a huge impact, punching above our weight class, unfortunately. But the idea of service, 98% of our students serve in the Army or Sherut Leumi. That is far above the national average. That is something, we're very proud of and we're very dedicated to. The programs that Mizrachi initiated, as, for example, where the head of the settlement division, when you say settlement division in Israel, it means,
West Bank,
it means Hit Yashvot. It doesn't mean West Bank. It means all over Israel. Settlement, Yerushalayim is called a Yishuv, Modi'in is called a Yishuv, in Israel. And it's just the translation of settlement division.
I learned something. Okay.
It's the Yishvuv, but we want to make sure that it's all of Israel, right? And just the amount of infrastructure projects that Mizrachi has initiated in the north, in the south, to rebuild, to build, temporary housing for 800 families to be able to live in quickly over the course of the year, to send funding for those type of things. Those are really impactful things, building for all sectors of Israel.
Yeah,
I want to just build on that for a minute or two on the issue of unity. There are 21 slates running this year.
with a bunch of Orthodox.
With a bunch of Orthodox, and that sort of is the point. Everyone wants to claim their own mantle. I don't want to say we're better or not than anyone else. I think we are, but that's for the voters to decide. But one of the key issues Chana mentioned, and it is so true, the unity of the unifying issue. We could, we don't. We could take a position on the extreme either way and say, this is my principle, X, Y, Z. We have our Torah principles, we have our Zionistic principles. But we're not the United States Congress, where there's a Democrat-Republic party. The Knesset is a parliament, it's a parliamentary system. The World Zionist Congress is a parliamentary system. We often have to deal with those who we disagree with significantly, but try to come to goals that serve the people at large. And because of the relationships and the professionalism and the ethics and the integrity of the World Mizrachi leaders, we have been critical to what has been able to be achieved. And while there's a lot of headlines in some of our favorite other newspapers about everything bad in Israel and this, that, and the other and protest, the reality is the country is mainly unified, both coming out of March 7th, and we hope and believe Mizrachi can help lead that effort going forward. And so we will do well in this election. It's not a promise, it's almost an expectation, and we have such hard workers.
It can be both, by the way, promise and expectation.
We have the message, and we have high goals, but we need people to come out and vote. And whereas people last time, one person in a household would vote, anyone in a household, if there are two spouses, they should vote. If there's anyone over 18, they should vote. They should call their mother-in-law, their son-in-law, their cousins, etc. Every vote's important. And Chana and I can't change the fact that you have to pay $5, you have to register. It took me yesterday, even though I had the pin, 8 minutes to get on. But you know what? What people in Israel are doing, and what we need the allocation to the issues and areas and programs that are important to the Mizrachi view and Mizrachi principles.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but so good. So first of all, thank you. That was good. I'll tell you one of the things. So I know all the other Orthodox groups are out there, and it's my hope that also a lot of on certain things you would work together with.
Sure.
On all I know is when I speak to some of the other Orthodox groups, the goal is really at least to try to if whatever they'll get, they'll hopefully work together to get more Orthodox funding.
Just one small dab bit, and then Chana. So the fact is, for the first time ever in the last WCC election 5 years ago, if I can call it the center right, got approximately 52%. Without going to some of the other unelected delegates that get positions, we feel collectively we really need to get 56, 57% to really help push our views and ideals. We're not going to throw everything else away. We want to work with people. But so yes, all the other Orthodox, all the other center-right groups who are running against us, we at the end of the day want to work with them, full stop.
Right.
Okay.
But I will just interject and say, number one, people should vote for the organization that really reflects the values that they want reflected, because, you say you vote for an Orthodox slate, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the values that they hold important are the same values that you share. So you have to look to not just what they say, but really what the organization stands for in Israel and here as well. But the other thing I want to bring up is that Mizrachi, because of its largesse, because of the fact that we've been successful in getting so many delegates, the way that the delegates are awarded are a number system. So let's say a delegate costs 1,000 votes, right? Just to make things simple. And, smaller slates pick off some of the votes from Mizrachi. We could actually lose a delegate, and it doesn't mean that they're going to get one.
Right.
And that's really what the issue is here for us as a community as a whole, because we want to be strong and we want to be strongly represented. But if we're fractionized, and even if they do get that delegate, so us having, let's say, 26 versus 27 from the U.S. and them having one, could effectively lose us a position in one of the institutions, but it doesn't mean they're getting it.
Right.
It could go to, a far left organization. Fortunately and unfortunately, the AZM is a big tent. And, my Zionism isn't necessarily the same as somebody else's Zionism. And how I want Israel to look and how I feel Israel should look and should be reflective of the Jewish people, but also with Torah and Tzionut, a real Tzionut, isn't necessarily everyone's approach. We have people who, are staunchly oppose, Yehuda v'Shomron.
Yep.
And the things some of them say are scary. So that is something that's at stake in this election, and I think that we all have to be aware of that.
Yep.
This is not just, people talk about $5 billion, and money is great, and it's important,
Right.
and it goes to do a tremendous amount of things in our institutions. I can say that just supporting Midrashot and Yeshivot in Israel, people complain about the price. I can't imagine how much it is without our programming and without the things that we infuse into them. Building JLIC, in Israel and in America, we've provided for that. Fighting. People talk about fighting anti-Semitism on campus. Where is it coming from? It's coming from those institutions. It's coming from the help that we provide. But really, the influence and what the shaping comes from these positions and where the funds can be allocated and what is being done, what the educational material are going to contain, what are we teaching
Yep.
people. We all know too well, in TNEC and in other places in the United States, when the Board of Ed has a certain curriculum, that's what the kids are learning.
Yep.
This election really is about values, and we want people who are aligned with our values to vote. But we can't step away from the fact that there are dollars and issues at stake here. And the major national institutions, the Jewish Agency, the World Zionist Organization, KKL, which is the equivalent of JNF in Israel, which owns 13% of the land, these institutions are headed by people who get appointed to those positions because they're affiliated with the groups that do well in the elections.
Right.
And leadership does start at the top. So if there's someone at the top of an organization that is Mizrachi affiliated, Mizrachi centric, our programs, ideas, and wishes for the benefit of our community are going to be achieved to a greater extent. We're not going to win everything, because we're even maximally whatever percent we get, there's going to be other positions going to other groups. But if we don't do what we believe we will be able to do, we need to do that and better to retain and push for the programs, not only educationally, not only financially, but all the principles we've talked about.
100%. Humorous aside, by the way, I just got off the phone with Eli Leibowitz, who was on the OIC in Mizrachi. I think he's supporting. I'm not sure if he's on the slate. He wanted me to tell you to make sure that the videos and promo videos are funnier. So that's he is wholly and solely committed to making sure the OIC in Mizrachi videos are humorous and funny. So I just wanted I told him I'm going to hold him to it, and I wanted to mention it as well on this. So
that's great, because we're a tough audience.
Yeah, he actually felt that some of you guys were a little too serious. So
there is a 24-second or 28-second video that we probably got out yesterday, which I think is a bit. I mean, we have some great 1-minute videos, but we have some powerful stuff. We're going to be getting it out, every
Good.
day, every other day, and
Looking forward to it. I really want to just ask one question, which is, the truth is, I see, when I look at OIC Mizrachi, I'm not sure if you know, but I come out of even though I'm a Yeshiva University graduate, actually my formative Torah experiences were in the Haredi world, and I'm not sure if Chana even knows that, but I learned in a right-wing yeshiva in South Bend, Indiana, and I'm just saying, to me, what are you trying to do to reach out to the Haredi community, or in a sense, because the American Haredim are different from the Israeli Haredim, and have you given up on the fast-growing American Haredi community? Because between you and me, I actually see potential there as well. I don't know if you do. I know we want to do as well as we can within the base, but I'm just interested to see what you guys are thinking.
We can each comment. Why don't you go first?
Okay.
We can each comment.
So what I'll say is, in terms of reaching out to them from an American standpoint, we all start with our low-hanging fruit and the communities that fully
100%.
support and are fully bought into the Mizrachi message. And I think, through the course of the past year and a half, I think more and more, on the modern yeshivish side, understand that, a strong Mizrachi, a strong army, a strong volunteer base, a strong position where, we're not just concerned about a certain sector, but we're concerned about really building the country and making the country strong, really benefits everyone in the country, and benefits them as well. We're not just looking to achieve, only for, if you fit into the square box of the Dati Leumi community. And I can use, as an example, the Israeli government has made a huge investment in the Haredi sector and making classes and things available to people in the Haredi sector who haven't had success in their own environment or at risk. And Amit has actually had several classes and initiatives to help the sector, right? To bring a better education, kids who came in with a 5th grade level math in 9th grade or 10th grade, and we've been able to turn that around and make them successful participants in society, which has been really tremendous. I think that there's a lot of crossover in Israel, particularly now.
Right, more and more, supposedly.
I'd like to make 2 points on that. And by the way, I have nieces that are in Amit schools in Israel, so call it kavod. They have such a great. Yeah, I got lots in the army also, and some have been wounded. But I would say 2 points. That the Orthodox community, however you want to define it, is changing and transforming. Thankfully, collectively, we're growing a large percentage of the population. There are elements, strong parts of the Orthodox community on the Haredi side. We are not going to get them to vote for us, and that's great as long as they vote for an organization that supports our overall goals, where we do agree 90% with our compatriots on the right side. So we do have to, not just low-hanging fruit, but all the fruit that's out there that's easier to get. We don't have the bandwidth, the time, and the energy to try to go after pockets that just are challenging to get to. But I will say, and I spend a lot of time in Israel, as do many people, and we all of us have relatives in the army and the IDF there, and there is a little bit of frustration, I'll say it politely, over the fact that the service being on the front lines, the Mizrachi kids, both girls and boys, that are fighting on the front lines, there is some frustration. Torah is of course important, and if you're an Eloi, that's wonderful. But I have nephews that are going back in for another 83 days now, and have served 200 days already since March 7th, and there is a feeling that the burden needs to be shared. It's a privilege, but it's a burden, and that needs to be shared. And we believe that Mizrachi stands the strongest for that point and that issue. And anyone who does believe as strongly as we do really should strongly consider the Mizrachi where the Orthodox Israel Coalition, their vote should go.
100%. I like what both of you guys said. It's interesting, actually. I saw. I don't think 5 years ago was that the slate was not OIC Mizrachi, right? It was just Mizrachi, right? It was OIC.
No,
it was OIC.
It was Orthodox Israel Coalition,
yeah.
OIC Mizrachi,
Okay.
and we shortened it to OIC because it was a mouthful.
Yeah, I actually like that. I mean, because it's funny, the word Mizrachi to that. I'm not going to belabor the issue with Haredim, but I'm saying that to the word Mizrachi has they have no problem voting for a Torah coalition.
Right.
They have or an Orthodox coalition. I'm just saying the word Mizrachi for whatever reason just it has like a pejorative connotation for them, not for us, obviously.
I think the important differentiator is yes, we are a coalition of Orthodox organizations, but it doesn't mean that people who vote for us are only Orthodox. It has tons of supporters who are not Orthodox and support what we do, even though the schools are Orthodox. The organization is Orthodox, I should say. We have some secular schools as well that we manage. But I think that the point is that we're very centrist in everything that we do, and very we deliberate everything, and we think about everything, and we think about the next steps, and we think about everyone's involvement in everything. And it's not just about everything we want to get. It's about building a country that everyone can live in and everyone can live in together. What was happening right before the war was devastating to the country, and it really in essence caused the October 7th war. I can tell you that in April, and I believe Mark was there too, I was at an extraordinary Congress where in the halls of the Congress there was screaming and protesting and fighting and infighting, and we tried so hard to bring everyone to the table and bring everyone together, and nobody wanted to listen. And I really went home devastated every day because I said, something's going to happen now. Because when we're divided, that's when our enemies strike.
Correct. No, 100%. Yeah. Switching. You wanted to say something, Mark? Go ahead. Yeah.
No, she's absolutely right. I did want to just kind of segue or transition a little bit that, again, there are 21 slates out there. And especially, this is almost like primaries. Some of our fellow groups, from the larger Orthodox coalition, also from the other side as well. There will be a lot of, if I may use the word, shots taken against Mizrachi and OIC. Oh, we're too centrist, we're too this, we're too that. We believe our message and what we do is just paramount in principle. Chana and I, our captains, our campaign manager, lots of people, there are going to be statements, claims, etc. about how we're this, we're that. We're happy to talk to anyone because we believe the package and our little card here, I don't know where the camera is, right there.
We'll put it up on the screen. We'll do it.
This tells people what we do and what we're about. We're not perfect. There's not, you may not agree with everything we do. I may not agree with everything we do. I know I agree overwhelmingly with what we do. So we want to leave the message. We don't want people saying, well, someone said that you did this, how could you possibly do it? I'm voting for someone else. That's your right, but at least try to learn the facts. There's so much information out there. Go on, our website. You're going to put up the card with the QR code. Learn a little bit about us. The Israelis, the citizens, the soldiers are devoting so much of their time. People here should be able to, not only for us, but to show the world, to show the United States, and the Jewish community as a whole cares about this election, how important it is. It's considered the Jewish parliament, and people should take it that seriously.
No, 100%. One last question. In terms of general population trends, October 7th really energized the Jewish community. But the truth is, the active Israel-engaged Jewish community, at least from where Chana, we all sit, we seem to be looking at an American Jewish community, North American Jewish community that's not as engaged in Israel, doesn't care as much. Do you foresee maybe in this election, maybe even Orthodox groups getting 50% or more, even though that may not be our share of the actual population? I mean, are they less engaged? Has October 7th kind of brought them back a little bit?
So, I think October 7th brought back a lot of people. But I think you'll see, when you look at the population base, so there's a big reform contingency, and people vote reform because they affiliate with the reform movement. But in the WZO, they call themselves the Reform and Progressive Movement, and they are actually a very progressive slate. And I don't know that everyone in the reform movement really necessarily agrees with all of their political leanings. And so I think you'll see people coming back to that, and they might not, be comfortable voting for, an Orthodox slate, but they might vote for somebody else who, has a different slant on things. I do want to say, yes, we will get attacked. I'm sure we don't work like that. We're not going to take potshots at people. We're very confident in who we are, what we do, what we achieved. We have a 100-year track record that really speaks for itself. I mean, from the religious school system, which wouldn't have existed, Mizrachi Bank, the rabbinate, like all these things that just exist because of Mizrachi, and people take them for granted as having really shaped the trajectory of the country. That's who Mizrachi is. That's our track record that we have to stand for. If somebody's going to take out an ad in a paper and accuse us of something, it was very cute. Like a few months ago, they accused us of an agreement. I'm like, does this slate not understand that every single faction has to sign the agreement or nobody gets positions or anything? Like in the last election, in every single election, after the election, they negotiate and everyone has to sign on or it's invalid.
And that's correct.
Or it's invalid. And it just shows their lack of understanding of the process. I mean, there was a slate who was literally putting on their website the World Jewish Congress. The World Jewish Congress has nothing to do with this. So
I think that was an oversight. Yeah. Okay.
But whether it's an oversight or not, it's one that shows a lack of understanding of
and the whole process,
whole process and the whole organization. And don't you want to vote for people who really do understand, have the relationships, know what they're doing and what they're going into? You can vote for somebody who talks a lot on Instagram or whatever, or you can vote for people who can actually achieve something. And that's your choice.
There is, as Chana said, at the end of the day, after the election, it will be a wall-to-wall agreement. And everyone will agree. And it will be the parceling out based upon the votes. That's why we need the votes. But it will be a parceling out of the votes. In terms of the question you had asked, I personally see the Orthodox community as enlarged, as tremendously motivated and engaged out of October 7th. Because it's affected us so greatly and so much. I've also seen so many, if I may use the term, non-Orthodox Jews who have similarly been engaged. There's been a lot of focus on the progressives. There's been a lot of focus on what happens. News media, maybe not you, news media likes to accentuate the minority, the 5 protesters on the street. And the progressives, what they've done, and I'm a Jew and I'm against, it's gotten way oversized play. I think that Jews, not all of them, not the majority of non-Orthodox, but I think many, many Jews have realized that the despicable anti-Semitism that has come out since October 7th, the failure of their so-called allies in various fights that they've been engaged in to just disappoint and disappear, I think it's had an effect. And I believe that going forward, now and after the election, and Israel's been in a pretty strong position right now, I do hope and believe that the larger Jewish community will be more engaged as a whole. I
hope you're right. I hope you're right. I'll just tell you, where I sit. Is I'm seeing a generation, let's say, Chana and I are roughly on the same age or a little bit older than me. I'm not seeing my peers in this, my 30, 40, 50-year-old peers who are not as engaged. If you're not living Jewishly, not visiting Israel, I just see them as not, even if you do go to synagogue a few times a year, I am hard pressed to believe that they're going to be voting in real numbers. But you may tell me otherwise.
Your first observation until the last sentence was absolutely true. I agree with you. I think they are going to be. We know the reform. They take this election very, very seriously. While they did go down from 2015 or 16 to 2020, we're hoping that we will, be even closer, if not larger. But they're taking this very seriously, and they have really united under almost one slate. So we don't take anything lightly, and they're going to do the best that they can. So I don't underestimate, and we need people to vote. We need people to take out their $5 and vote.
Yeah. I think that if you had to say one thing, this really, we are extremely involved, and we put a lot of our time into this. I'm involved in a lot of things, but none of this is.
I'm going to have to ask you to stop getting involved at this point. It's really enough.
I think my husband would probably.
No. I'm not speaking for him. I'm just saying it's enough. I can only have you calling me about not more than 3 organizations. Okay, that's it.
I have about 7 right now, but I will say that there are people who are extremely involved. None of this, Mark and I do this on a volunteer basis. This isn't something that's. For us to get any sort of clout or whatever. We do this purely because we truly believe that it is important for the future of Israel, for the Dati Leumi community to have a strong say in the future of Israel.
Yep.
And I think we've earned it. Our counterparts have earned it through blood, sweat, and tears. And we've earned it as a community. When I look at our community and you have the amount of bags and stuff the sheer amount of stuff we've sent to Israel, and it's almost comical.
Still sending, apparently.
We're still sending. We're still sending all the time. But the sheer amount of stuff that's gone to Israel is really incredible. And there's just something about when you say, oh, everybody bring peanut butter and toothpaste, and I was working at that warehouse in the first few weeks after the war broke out, and it was almost comical. You'd have people like in Costco and buying everything on the shelves and running whatever, and you ask them to vote. And I don't know, whatever. And there is something tangible about going to buy underwear for Chayalim. It feels good. You feel like a Jewish mother that you just bought your kid Chayalim. Trust me. I feel the 40,000 Ami kids are my children. The 60 who we lost I mourn every single one of them. But this is something so easy, and everyone could do it, and you can nudge your kids to do it, and we just have to. And this is so much on a scale level, this is so much more impactful.
100%. Okay, so first of all, I think that's great. When do we have to vote till?
It started Monday, March 10th, so you've already lost a day and a half, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're already 12 o'clock now. It goes until May 4th. There are many days on which the Orthodox Coalition will not vote.
Pesach.
Cannot vote. Shabbat, holidays. So, time runs. Do it now. Don't say you're going to do it next week or next month. Do it now.
Okay.
Use this platform. Thank you for providing us with this platform.
Not a problem.
Go vote. Make sure you get our card and our QR code up there. Let's vote. Let's do what Chana and I think we can achieve in this election, and we think the Jewish world and the Orthodox Israel Coalition Mizrachi will benefit.
So yeshikach to you both, chazaka baruch on the campaign, and wish you only success. And certainly looking to read about it in the pages of our paper. I just want to share with you. I think that there is a plan. I don't know where we're at with actually having kind of like an update on voting in the Jewish Link's core readership areas. I'm very open to it, which I really gets as a sign of like a thermometer of how we're doing, which I think was as a nice barometer thermometer for what we're doing. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And just looking forward to seeing our success.
Thank you, Moshe.
Thank you so much, Moshe.
Okay.
Thanks for being with us on the Jewish Link Pitch Meeting podcast. If you would like to participate or be in touch with us in any way, please email us at editor@jewishlink.news and follow us and find our podcast wherever you find podcasts.